What's up, maniacs? My name is Mex. I'm a wrestling fan, a wrestling enthusiast, a WrestleManiac, if you will. And today, guys, something new for you, something different. Obviously, we are approaching AEW Dynamite 1 year anniversary. And I couldn't think of a better way to celebrate AEW being in business for a year, entertaining us and offering us this alternative than getting an AEW absolute super fan, a mark if you will, Mike from AEW News 1 underscore on Instagram. He is going to be with me on today's episode, and we are going to chop up everything AEW Dynamite over the last year. Kind of do a review of the year, see everything that went well, what hasn't gone so well, what they can still work on. We're just going to chop it all up and talk about AEW on this episode. And it really is good to talk to someone about it. Obviously, I sit here every day and I talk to you guys. However, to have actually someone to have the conversation with was really good, really invaluable. So yeah, I hope you really enjoyed this episode. Go and follow Mike. He covers everything to do with AEW and New Japan as well. So if you have interest there, that is definitely the guy that you want to be following. AEW News 1 underscore on Instagram. He is who you need in your life if you are on AEW. Guys, as you're watching this video and you're really enjoying it, hit the thumbs up button, give us a like. We appreciate it here on this channel. You guys know I always tell you that because it is the damn truth. And if you're new here, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get notified every time I drop a new video. Right. That's me done. I'm going to stop talking and we're going to get into this episode right here, right now. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's get into the review. What's up, maniacs? So, this is a episode I've wanted to bring to you guys for quite a while. We're coming up to the 1 year anniversary of AEW Dynamite being on TV. And it has been a pretty eventful year, one way or the other, especially with COVID in between. But things are kind of returning to some type of normality. And I've brought on today a very special guest. This, in my books, this is Mr. AEW. That's what I'm calling him. His name is Mike. He's from Jersey. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Cool. And so we've got Mike, AEW News 1 underscore on Instagram. That's the AEW plug right there. You need to follow him for all things AEW and New Japan as well. Really good, comprehensive kind of roundups of every show. You're basically streaming AEW and New Japan on your Instagram.
Yeah.
You're going to get in trouble for that soon, I can imagine.
I know. Somebody said, I don't even need to watch All Out because I just looked at your story. I was like,
it's all there.
Maybe I got to calm down a little bit.
Yeah. No, it's really good. And like we say, really good for those to catch up that aren't seeing it on TV and stuff like that. So, yeah, I'll just leave it to you, Mike. You want to just kind of introduce yourself?
Sure. Well, I thank you first for having me on. We had a Dynamite Worldwide episode on my Instagram channel about a month ago where we just discussed the topic about AEW. I know that we're going to plan on doing that shortly again.
Yep.
Had some trouble coordinating, but I'm glad to finally be on with the one and only WrestleManiac UK, my brother across the pond, as I say.
That's right.
While he's more into the WWE NXT stuff, which I haven't dove into yet. I'm not saying I won't, but I will. I've been doing AEW news coverage, and my best attempt at that since about January last year. But I have been watching since the inception in October, so I have not missed an episode yet or a pay-per-view. And I love covering it on Instagram. It's a great hobby, and I'm glad to be part of this big community.
Yeah. Like you, I've been fully involved since, they said they were going to do this. I've just been, to be honest, I've been in awe that they've able to pull it off and done such a good job. Like, I've seen so many kind of other indie promotions start and kind of not being able to, maintain what it takes to kind of be at the top. So it's been really impressive. Just to kind of get started, like I said, we're going to talk about 1 year of AEW being on TV and stuff like that. But you kind of touched on my first point. So did you ever watch WWE?
Yes. So Well, I'm not that old, but when I was a kid, um, I was more of a WCW, Nitro, and Thunder fan because I had a video store right by my house, and they had a ton of WCW videotapes. So that's what kind of got me started on it. I never watched any of the Attitude Era, but I did watch a good portion of Ruthless Aggression from kind of
Okay.
2004 to 2007, 8. Played the video game SmackDown versus Raw and everything. Kind of got a little lame in my opinion towards like the 2010 mark. So I kind of gave it up
Yes,
until
it did.
Nakamura came back, came to WWE
Came
from
to
New
WWE.
Japan, and I was all in on it. And then they got AJ Styles, and I was like, damn. And
Stealing
then
all the
I don't
good
know
guys.
exactly. It didn't go too well for a Nakamura, and I was like, I really hate Vince McMahon and what they do to people, and kind of gave it up for a while until AEW came out. But in between then, I was a big TNA Impact fan.
Okay.
When that was, the whole Monday Night War thing. But I have not watched an episode of NXT fully. So that's my fault, but I have not. And I think I'm one of the only few that is truly pretty much only AEW.
Yeah, yeah. No, I definitely get that from watching you. I kind of when I found you online, I thought, okay, yeah, he wants to concentrate his page on AEW, and I think I told you very early that's a very good idea because there's probably next to no one just kind of doing AEW news. But I thought he must watch WWE as well. But no,
Now, I don't have time because, I do Monday being the Elite, and then Tuesday Dark, Wednesday Dynamite. So it's 3 days already.
so
And
that's
then
your
I do
schedule.
that is my schedule. And then I try to keep up with New Japan, but I'm always late. So I'll end up watching like Dark and then finishing New Japan. I'll be up to like 1 in the morning. And I have a girlfriend, and she likes Dynamite. She doesn't like the rest of it though. And it's kind of like, oh, you're going to watch it again. So
Yeah, I
I
can
don't have
imagine.
time for NXT yet.
Yeah. Fair enough. I mean, if you were to watch WWE, I would say obviously NXT is the go-to place rather than the main
I
roster.
agree. Yeah,
Yeah.
it looks good.
Yeah, definitely. So just before we get into AEW, what are like some of your favorite AEW stars over the last year, especially?
I guess I'll go a little bit against the grain for this, and we have Omega, Jericho, and Moxley, which everyone really likes. But I've been really impressed with. I'll give you interesting one, Brandon Cutler of the
Okay.
Initiative with Peter
Yeah.
Avalon.
With P. Avalon.
He's a Dungeons and Dragons character in AEW, and he has 0 wins, and he has a whole storyline around getting his first win.
Him and
it's been
Pierre
brilliant.
Avalon, yeah.
Yep, but I think he's like, oh my god, he's so fucking good in the ring. Like he is great. I'm so
Yeah.
impressed with him. I'm impressed with Penta and Ray Phoenix, and obviously I think the Best Friends.
Those are
Huge
good,
fans of those.
yeah.
If I had to pick like one more like singles competitor that I'm really impressed with, I have to go with Murder Hawk Monster Lance Archer. And we're seeing a little bit of a push of him right now, and that makes me super pumped. But all around, there's just so many guys, and people ask me who my number one. It changes all the time, to be honest.
Yeah. I think we're going to get into a bit of a discussion with Lance Archer because personally, when they brought him in, that is someone that I thought, right, credible main eventer kind of guy that we can build up. Obviously, he lost to Cody for the TNT Championship. I half understand it. Cody's done a brilliant job whilst he was carrying that. Obviously, he's not champion anymore. But
Nope.
then, in the meantime, what did they do with Lance Archer? He was just, faded into the back, didn't really do much. And it kind of disappointed me. I mean, if he's one of your favorites, how did you feel? Yeah.
We have this Instagram group here that does like a Dynamite discussion, and everyone in the group was like, "What the hell is going on with Lance Archer? Like, what? There's no spot for him." We were pissed for like a few weeks, and then all of a sudden he finally got a little bit of an opportunity, and now we're going to see him really show what he could do. But he is a former, I think 2 or 1 time IWGP United States champion. He's beaten Moxley before.
Yep.
So It's not like
I
he
think
can't do this again.
I think that's what makes their world title match very interesting, because surely they might use that in some of the build up. Maybe they don't want to refer to New Japan given their relationship.
I wish they did.
Yeah, I know, but the fact that he has beaten Moxley for that title, yeah, I think this is probably one of the most credible people they've put in front of Moxley since Moxley has been reigning champion, in my opinion.
Oh, for sure, definitely. I mean, I think this is, if it's going to be done, it could be done here to dethrone him.
So we're gonna get Moxley Lance Archer on the anniversary show October 14th.
Yes.
Do you think Lance Archer is going to win? Yes or no?
Yeah, I do.
You really think they're gonna do it?
I think they're gonna do it. MJF, he had a shot, and at some points of the match, I was like, "Holy crap, MJF's gonna beat John Moxley," because the pinfalls that he was getting, the near falls,
the close falls, yeah,
so close. I was like, "Oh my god!" And I could really see them putting it on a new guy. And I think BR Live, they had a whole prediction thing right before the show, and they predicted MJF was gonna win, which is not like the most credible place in the world, but they do have a partnership with them, and a lot of people were saying MJF, but I didn't think so. I didn't think Brian Cage had a shot. I didn't think Jake Hager had a shot
at all.
But this guy's beaten Moxley. Moxley's held it now for,
since February.
Yeah. So we're coming up on almost a year.
I think it'll be about 8 months. If he loses it in October, that'll be about 8 months he held it for.
I could see them putting it on Lance Archer, holding it a little bit, and him kind of being a transitional champion for, the inevitable
Omega
best bout machine. Yeah, Cleaner coming out and taking the title.
Yeah. No, it would be a very big statement on the anniversary show to put it on Lance Archer. God, I can't see it, but I can imagine it can happen. I just can't even imagine.
Yeah, we're cautious, I know, with the predictions, and I had 3 out of 8 predictions right for All Out, which is like I knew kind of what was going to happen, and we've had this conversation before about the predictability issue. But I try to go against the grain a little bit and kind of root for the guy that no one's expecting. So I don't think anyone's expecting Lance, and I think that a lot of people that watch AEW don't maybe don't know his history with the IWGP US title. I think they should look into that, because might be a clue there.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Well, I think we've got, from the point of where we're recording today, we've got exactly 4 weeks, until that show. So that's 4 weeks of build up, promo, storytelling, until we get, John Moxley versus Lance Archer. So anything can happen there. I just wanted to kind of touch on the in-ring products from AEW. Have you been happy with that? Is it what you expected? Above maybe what you expected? Below? What's your opinion?
So you're talking about the performance aspect?
Yeah. Just generally, since we've been on TV every week. We're taking into consideration some of these guys have never been on TV, so the cause of maybe having to perform every week. For some of them, it will probably be new to them. So, what do you think generally for the in-ring product? How that's been?
I think that it's been really solid. Now, you're right. Some of the guys are green, and some of the guys don't have experience on TV. But what a lot of people forget is a lot of them came from Japan, so they don't have experience as much in an American ring, and it sometimes doesn't translate as well. But I think every episode of Dynamite that has come out, I've enjoyed except one. I have only not enjoyed one. While there are some mistakes that you'll see in an episode, some botches, some bad angles, I've been left entertained from 99% of the episodes. And I felt like that was good. I'm into that. I'm following it. I enjoyed the matches. And I do, on my Instagram, a rating system for most of the matches. I think every Dynamite so far has garnered like a 4-star into the 4-star rating. So there hasn't been any like shows that have blown it, except the one show that I really didn't like was Fight for the Fallen.
This last recent one that was the week after, was it Double or Nothing?
Fighter Fest.
Fighter Fest. Yeah.
That's when the whole Brian Cage debacle won. Then I think the
Yeah.
next week on Dynamite, he lost in a tag team match with Ricky
Darby
Starks. And I was
Allin.
like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Yeah,
Yeah.
that was the one bad episode that I thought. But as a whole, I've been really entertained with it, and I think it's really drawn me in to really like care about the character development and the storytelling. And some of the, I knew that a lot of the wrestling was going to be good from some of the acquisitions that they
made.
I've been happy with it though.
I've been drawn into a conversation this past week. I was on a podcast, Wrestling's, big up those guys, and we were talking about how often we get a lot of high spots on TV, which also almost makes them do the crazy stuff at pay-per-views. Obviously, most recently we've seen Matt Hardy kind of hurt himself.
I knew you were going to bring this up.
I mean, I don't want to talk about Matt Hardy too much, but I mean, what do you think? Do you think on TV they're basically doing too much, so that at pay-per-views they have to do, above and beyond, and they're almost entering a load of risks a lot of the time?
Yes, I agree with you. Now, they have some really good high flyers, like Penta, Ray Phoenix, and Young Bucks. Those are the ones that come to mind.
Yeah.
What most people don't realize is that you have Wrestle Kingdom or Dominion. Then you have like a month break in between those shows. So if you do high spots,
you can recover.
You can recuperate. Now, the Young Bucks, Matt Hardy, Penta, and Ray Phoenix, they're doing crazy shit. And Darby, for example, he's probably the biggest offender of this. I mean, these guys are not going to last doing this. Like the Young Bucks dove off the Titantron on a normal episode of Dynamite, which is insane. And apparently they were really shaken up in the back of the ring. If you saw Darby and Ricky Starks with the thumbtack spot, Matt Hardy busting his head open, Sammy Guevara constantly just jumping off of everything. Like, I feel like in the first year they really wanted to show like their ability.
Yeah.
Now they need to calm it down a little bit, because unlike New Japan and AAA and those promotions where you have a month break, they're on TV every week.
Yeah.
They don't have this break, and I don't think that these guys they're not young pups here, minus Sammy. They're not going to be able to do this. Like Matt Hardy, for example, he's got to get into this managerial role that Chris Jericho kind of is in right now, because, I feel like he's like underselling himself, that he's got to prove something. He doesn't have to prove anything. This guy's a legend. We all know that. Like, there's no reason for him to be taking these spots. Like,
exactly.
I feel like they're pushing the envelope a little bit too much on the pay-per-view, and it definitely worries me, especially with the head injuries and everything. I think they just need to chill for a little bit.
Like, as a consumer, as obviously a fan, you love to see it. You know, it gives you the gasps, the and everything, like, but you just have to, being someone that as well, we're men, we're getting older as well. Sometimes we might do sports or exercise, and even just little exercise like going to the gym, we might feel it might take us a couple of days to recuperate and stuff like that. You know, these guys are doing dangerous stuff. At what point do you tell yourself, like, okay, I need to slow down? Especially what you said, Matt Hardy has nothing to prove. Absolutely nothing. No. Why is he doing that?
I don't think Darby has anything to prove anymore either.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a new guy, but come on, like we've seen what the Bucks can do. And this really scares me because, obviously we know what happens with head trauma. But I'm afraid of like a Katsuyori Shibata situation in Japan where he was using the headbutt so much and he has a brain hemorrhage now and he can never step foot in the ring. Like, you don't really know that happens until it does. So I don't know, especially the older guys. I really, but I do want to see like the Young Bucks become tag champions. I do want to see like Darby get more of a push. Yeah. It does. I think they deserve it, but like I don't want to see them do this anymore.
Yeah,
I care about them. That's the thing about
that's
AEW.
the problem. Yeah. You don't want to see anyone get hurt, of course.
No.
What in your opinion, how important are Cody and Chris Jericho, especially to the success of AEW? I mean, there's more. Chris Jericho's not an executive. Obviously, the Bucks, Omega are, but obviously we very much get portrayed the story on TV, at least, that Cody's the front man of all of this, along with Tony Khan, obviously. And then Chris Jericho, through, you know, his platforms, he seems very integral in bringing over especially WWE talents that want to join. Cody and Chris Jericho, just talking them, how do you think, how important are they to AEW?
Well, first, I think that they kind of have different roles, but highly important. So number one, I think Jericho was absolutely key for the success of bringing name recognition to the company. Now, I've had a few examples where I tell like a friend of mine, I'm watching a wrestling pay-per-view this weekend, and they're like, oh, is it WWE? No, it's AEW. And I go, who's in it? And I go, you remember Jericho? Like, yeah, I remember Jericho. So he's kind of got the ability to draw in the older audience who've kind of been familiar with him and his WCW run and his WWE run. So I think that is very important, especially giving him the belt. I think it gave the company legitimacy.
Of course,
yeah. Cody's a star. Like, my girlfriend loves Cody. She didn't know Cody beforehand, but she loves Cody, loves Brandi. Like, he brings in like the casual viewer. I think he's like a superstar, like a celebrity. He has a potential. He's on a game show now with with Snoop Dogg. I think this is really like elevated. I think that he's helping kind of bring in the younger audience, or people who might not be really wrestling fans, but they see this guy. He's got the look. He's got the girl. He's got the dog, the big house. Like, he's cool. And Jericho's a legend. Yeah. So I think that they're very important. I mean, I think it would be totally different if Jericho didn't come on, or if Cody didn't come on, because, you know, we love Omega, we love the Bucks, we love Hangman Page, but do they really have that ability to draw in like the casual person? No, I don't think so.
I think without, I mean, and it might sound disrespectful, but I don't mean it in that way. I think without Jericho and Cody, this would pretty much be a glorified indie product.
Might have been similar to TNA.
I'm not even sure. I mean, the money speaks a lot, so I don't know. But I think like this would have been like just maybe Ring of Honor, to be honest.
Yeah, that was a bad analogy on me. It's more like exactly what you just said.
Yeah. I think these guys have really added that je ne sais quoi, that WWE level performance and platform to it. With myself and Cody, like you, that 2010, 11, all them years, I was not watching wrestling. I thought that was all trash. By the time I kind of got back into it, Cody was Stardust, and basically on his way out, he left, and I really switched on to Cody when he was on the Indies, wanting to kind of, you know, when he had his list. I don't know if you heard of this list and everything he wanted to tick off on this list and everyone he wanted to face on this list, and he was prepared to go to anywhere, start from the bottom and kind of work his way up. And I really got a lot of respect for him.
Me too, for sure. That's when he was the coolest. I mean, like, he went everywhere. You're right. He was, you know, fighting in Nashville, Tennessee for NWA. Then he was going to England for What Culture Pro Wrestling, doing New Japan, Ring of Honor.
He literally took it like
Mexico.
He literally took it like, I'm nobody, I'm going to start again. And, you know, yes, he had some name value, but I think, you know, Cody is integral, especially from the business point of view. He's clearly integral. And Chris Jericho, for just kind of just everything. Man, the guy is a living legend. I'm sorry. Like, the Chris Jericho
We're fortunate. And he helps even bring in interest to the other superstars, you know, because a lot of my friends who aren't really wrestling fans, you know, they heard of Jericho before, but now who's Jericho facing? He's facing Moxley. You know, Moxley had a lot of name recognition, but now they're like, oh, Moxley's cool.
Yeah.
Or these guys that Jericho's facing with, he's teaming up with Sammy. Like, I really think that he just set the company, you know, he's a demo god. He's a ratings draw.
Yeah. And to be honest, I never thought it would be Jericho. As much as I've always loved him throughout his career, I've never thought, you know, he would have this much pull. I'd always seen him, unfortunately, as one of the top guys under a couple other top guys. But he is really proven now that, you know, he is brilliant. And I've been saying this maybe for the past 5 years at least now.
Right now he said that he's at his best in his career, in his opinion. And I agree with that. And 100%. I'll go out on a limb here. You if I had to pick a greatest of all time, I'd probably pick Jericho.
He swung my opinion in the last 18 months, that's for sure. He's definitely in my, if I'm to say a top 5 of all time, Jericho's there, 100%.
Yeah. I think he's my number 1, and a lot of people say, well, he doesn't have the star power that Hogan did or Flair, but I hate to bring this up, I really do, but Hogan and Flair, they obviously didn't have enough star power to keep Impact going the way it was.
True.
Jericho does.
True.
I mean, they are hitting 1 million. They are
viewers and
consistently
stuff,
in the top 10. They got a primetime deal on TNT. This isn't Spike TV or Axis. Come on, this is legit competition now, and it's not a minor league team anymore.
No, you're 100% right, bro. Jericho needs to be given his flowers now. I don't want to hear any stories about Jericho when he passes. Oh, he was a legend. Tell him now that he's a legend, because he is a legend. And just talking on that point of legends, obviously we see Jericho's in-ring competitor, but we see the likes of Jake the Snake around, Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard. What is your thoughts on the use of legends in AEW? Are you happy seeing these guys around and how helpful they are, or would you rather just see, the in-ring competitors and the younger guys?
I'm glad you brought this up, because I think this is one of the things that AEW does better than any other promotion in its history, in my opinion. The use of managers. And now, this was such a staple to have a manager at your side in the 80s, 90s, even the 70s. And, in Japan, having a second in your corner man, that's still a big thing.
Yeah.
That's important. Like, you select your corner man, and it means something to be that. And WWE kind of got rid of that, really. Like, I can't really think of any other, maybe Heyman and Vicky Guerrero were like the two that come to my mind. But these guys like Jake, Tully Blanchard, they're in coaching these guys. They're at the side. Sean Spears, jumping out of the ring, getting advice from him, coming back in. Like, it's so much cooler than just having them on a talent scouting team or maybe writing for the production. No, they are backstage, part of the television show, and they're important members, and they're cutting promos. Like DDP, Tommy Dreamer, I love it, dude. I think I don't think anybody can argue how this is such a good thing that AEW is doing, and WWE is just simply not.
I think DDP, if I'm correct, may be the only legend, so to speak, we've seen actually get in the ring, which I think
Tommy
is a good
too.
thing. Tommy Dreamer, right? Tommy's still kind of active though, so
yeah, he's got his House of Hardcore, but you're right. They're not pushing them to do spots though.
And this is where WWE falls, because WWE would have these guys wrestling every week to be draws and everything.
Or taking a tombstone from Kane.
Exactly. So they know exactly how to use them, just as you're saying, and it has really benefited, and hopefully still going to benefit some of the wrestlers. I like how you called upon Sean Spears. I think he started off pretty hot out the gate, cooled down a little bit, and maybe they're kind of revising how they're going to go about, bringing him back into prominence. So Tully Blanchard's got a bit of work to do now, but he's obviously also taken on some new clients in FTR.
Yeah,
what do you think of him joining up with them?
About that, exactly. I think that's awesome that they added them to that. But I think the cool point about this whole thing is, we could just have legends on the side escorting them to the ring, but no. Sean Spears was hot. He fell big time. He completely crashed at Double or Nothing and lost pretty much all the respect everybody had for him in his match against Dustin Rhodes. Now he's at square one. And the way that he's going to go up is through his own ability, but it's through Tully's coaching, which just shows how integral and important the managers are in AEW. He's not going to get there without the legendary Four Horsemen's advice and his coaching. And I think that's the same thing for Murder Hawk Monster Lance Archer. These guys are going to help them get there. I think it's so cool how they just wrap the story around them.
Yeah. Even, Tully, before he got involved with FTR were calling themselves the best, like he was saying, but you have nothing to prove that you're the best. Until he got involved with them, a matter of weeks afterwards, they've become tag team champions.
Yeah, they're number one. I mean, you can argue that is and they've said it on the last Dynamite that we're the top in the promotion. I mean, you could argue that the tag team champs are more important than the world champs. That's what's so cool about AEW. And another thing that we should talk about later in this episode is that, I mean, there's no arguing how good their tag team division is. So, like, the tag team champs, maybe that doesn't mean something in another promotion, but these guys are, like, pretty much tied on the top tier, in my opinion, now.
Yeah.
And which is cool.
We're gonna get into it right now. You know, it was a good segue. I'm gonna talk about the tag team division, which, my God, absolutely stacked.
Too much, right?
for the longest period, obviously it's just ended now, but for the longest period, Kenny Omega and Hangman Page, which have had affiliation in the past in Japan and stuff like that, they are friends, or they were friends. They have held the tag team championships for nearly, you know, how long now? About 8 months or so?
From the cruise, which was, the cruise was maybe January or December.
So about 9 months. Yeah, so about 9 months they've held the title for. With all the tag team talent in AEW, what was your opinion on Kenny Omega and Hangman, people that aren't, you know, a quote unquote tag team, being champions and being champions for so long?
I don't care what anybody says about they didn't come out together. I mean, that was a tag team through and through. They were the best tag team in the world, in my opinion. I think, yeah, they were singles competitors, but they came together perfectly. They had a finishing move together, the buckshot V-trigger. They worked extremely well together. They weren't the best of friends, but man, I loved them. I thought it was so cool to pair them up, and it's just like elevated Hangman so much. Yeah. And like, I was one of the only ones too on Instagram and on Twitter who I really wanted them to retain at All Out and continue on their reign. I wasn't ready for this to be over. I understand that a new one had to come in, but man, I loved it. I loved every minute of it, and I'm a super fan of Kenny and Adam. So I thought they did an excellent job. Some of the best matches that I've ever seen, which is another point of contention that I always go back to when someone says that they shouldn't have been tag team champs. The highest rated tag team match of all time, according to Wrestling Observer Dave Meltzer, was Young Bucks versus Kenny and Hangman at Revolution. 6 stars. Now, we can argue all day if Meltzer is legitimate or not, but still, that was a freaking awesome match. And that was the best tag team match I've ever seen. So I don't think FTR is going to get 6 stars anytime soon. That's my opinion. They were the best tag team.
Yeah. No, I think it was really, really good for the story that, you know, that has come from it, and the whole kind of demise of the Elite. Is Omega about to turn heel or whatever? The belts being just involved in that story has been brilliant. My only worry when they were together for so long was, is this hurting some of the other tag teams?
Yeah, I agree with you. It is. I mean, there were some time there were some times where I was like, man, like, some other teams really deserve a spotlight here. And I've heard the term that the belts were held hostage for a little bit. Now, I think that, you know, I'm a super fan of AEW. I'm a mark of AEW. But we mentioned earlier how we want to see entertainment, but we want to see our hero. They're my heroes, of course. I want to see them be safe. I also want to see them shine when it's deserved, and I want to see talent grow. And just because I love Hangman and Kenny, I can understand other teams going over against them. For example, one of the things that AEW upset me in the tag team division was Tony Khan went on record on AEW Unrestricted a little bit before Double or Nothing, I think, and he said if it wasn't for teams like the Best Friends who volunteered to basically risk their lives and work throughout the pandemic during those tape sessions in North Cross, Georgia, when no one knew what this pandemic was, AEW would have went down the drain. They said that they owed so much to the Best Friends. And I love the Best Friends. I think they're a great team. I really thought that maybe they should have been the ones to take off the belts from them. And
I thought, what pay-per-view was it where Best Friends faced them? Was it Double or Nothing? Double
I'm going blank here, but I think so.
Best friends. I think they took them on. Was it or was it one of those ones?
No, best friend. That was a Fighter Fest.
Yeah, Fighter Fest. That's what it was. Yeah. I thought they were going to win there.
Was a stadium. Me too.
I thought best friends were going to win there. Yeah.
I was upset, and people are like, "Oh, the best friends are a joke." Yeah, well, Trent is a IWGP Junior Tag Champion with Roppongi Vice, with Rocky Romero. So he's not a joke. I mean, that guy's a formidable competitor.
I think Trent's going to be a world championship holder one day.
I mean, he could. He's got the look. He's got the moves.
I definitely think he's going to do it. 100%.
But I got a little bit upset, because these guys gave so much for the company. They volunteered to work when everything was so uncertain and scary. They kind of got shafted for some guys that came in from WWE and took the belts. Yeah, Jurassic Express. That's another example. Like, those guys work every single fucking week.
I think Jack Perry's going all the way to the top. I can't see that guy succeeding in wrestling.
He's awesome. Brilliant. His dad would be really proud of him now, for sure.
Yeah, he's brilliant. But like you said, Kenny and Adam Page, when it was time to show up, they showed up, had loads of wins together. What I wanted to just touch on next was, when AEW was in its inception, Tony Khan told us about this whole kind of ranking systems and more sports-centric feel, and all the wins and losses that were going to matter and the rankings. And for me, I play football, or what you guys would call soccer, here in the UK. So, and I watch this, I watch MMA. I'm very much in that whole sports world. I love it. So when that was one of the selling points for me on watching AEW, because watching WWE, there's a load of matches that often get thrown together. All of a sudden, someone's number one contender, and you're asking yourself why. However, if I'm completely honest, I have been left a bit disappointed that I feel AEW haven't used the rankings and stuff like that a lot of the time, just as it was made out that they would. The other day, we had a tag team gauntlet match. And I think the rankings were used perfectly there, because the rankings were used to determine who was going to come in next in the gauntlet. But generally, I think that's been a misstep. Or do you think it's something hard to keep up with, using rankings and win-loss records? Especially when you want to push certain stories.
I don't think it's that hard to keep up with. And that was definitely a selling point for me, too, because I always think that it could be more competition, and I really like the tournament style of some promotions out there. I wish that we had more of that. I kind of agree with you. In the men's singles division, it doesn't seem like the rankings are what was really promised. We keep having these battle royals, and then the guy wins, and then all of a sudden they're number one contenders, and then like the 2, 3, 4, 5 spot, like that doesn't really matter. It's like the 1 and 2, and then the champions. But, I think that they can improve on that. But for the tag team division, I think they've been pretty solid with the contenders. Like, we've had battles for the number one contender spot numerous times. So they have kept it up with the tag team division. I don't really know why they're faltering on the men's division, but I agree it's kind of a downfall. And I don't think it's that hard to do. And I think a lot of people would really like it. That, for example, Hager versus Cody at Fyter Fest. I don't know if you remember this, but they had a big graphic up on the Titantron screen, and it had like their reach, their percentage of pinfalls. Like, that's awesome. I want to see that.
I want to see more of that.
It was talked about all on Reddit. It had a ton of upvotes. I'm part of all these Facebook groups for AEW and Instagram pages. Everybody was talking about how cool that was, and then it's just like, let's have like a tooth and nail match. Like, no, come on. Like, people want to see the sports too. This is a sport. I don't care what anybody says. It's hard to do. And they should continue that and model. They made their tag team division perfect. And I think some of the tag team events have been better than the main event. I think that they need to take a step back and get back to their roots with the singles division and get back to that ranking system.
Yeah. Like you said, I mean, I'll leave the tag team division alone, because like you said, they have kind of been sticking to it. But for the men's singles division, I think one of the things that really irked me was after the whole Brian Cage debacle, Darby Allin got a title shot at Moxley, and Darby Allin was 5th in the rankings at the time. And this was just as MJF said that he's going to challenge Moxley at All Out.
Yo, why did they do that? Did nothing for Darby Allin. Why is stupid?
5th? And this is what I mean, especially because Darby Allin, this was probably his 3rd or 4th high-profile match, which he didn't win, was never going to win. So what is the point? Again, we saw this in the women's division. I think when Nyla Rose was champion, Shida was number 1 contender forever before she got her title match. And it's just like, come on. Like, especially...
I guess
like
I want to save it, but...
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they want to save it for the big ones. But like, okay, for instance now, Lance Archer has jumped a queue to become the number 1 contender. You know, is everyone else in the queue not going to have anything to say about that? Or I just think they need to probably iron it out a bit better. And yeah, try to keep to it a bit more, especially if it's something you promised. And something, you know, you and me, probably other fans want as well. Like that more sports feel to it.
I think it's the kind of the 18 to 49 demographic. I think that they really like that, and that they should listen to them, because, you know, that's the future. But, you know, back to the point that you said about Darby Allin getting a title shot. What was the whole point of that? The point of that was to align him with Moxley as one of his only friends. But they could have done that with their tag team match where they beat Cage and Starks. That could have been established there. Mm-hmm. They didn't need to have a title shot the next week to make Darby kind of look worse.
Yeah. I mean, Sorry, I was saying for me, Darby Allin never looks bad. Like, even in that performance, he looked bloody brilliant. But the point is, you don't just put people in matches just for the sake of a match. Like, we as fans need to feel like, okay, this person can win here, and then you're more invested. I at no point did I ever think Darby Allin was beating Moxley on TV for the World Championship. No chance. I didn't think it.
That would have been weird.
Yeah.
And then we have this whole other thing where we have this whole other thing now with the TNT champion ranked at basically the same level as but none of the rank. I don't know, because none of the ranking systems, like none of the people on the right side of the column, if you look at it, ever really challenged for the TNT championship. So Cody had like this like open challenge. Like those guys were all indie stars. So like why is that? Like, I don't know. Should it be a separate ranking? I don't really know why it's included, and it's kind of confusing me.
I think they should do like number 1 to 5 are world champion, and maybe 5 and below could be TNT championship. But I think at the same time that might kill some of the prestige of the belt, especially that Cody's built up. So it is something that maybe they should look into. But I mean, it is what it is. It's a nice attempt, but kind of moving away from that serious stuff, and if we talk about something more lighter, comedy wrestling. So we have, you know, what's your opinion on comedy wrestling to start off with?
I think that it can be done really well, or it could be like really cringy. Like I know a lot of people hate them, but I like when Michael Nakazawa comes out on Dark and Taz is on commentary. I think it's so fucking funny. Like he talks about his raspberry thong, and he's got the oil. Like it's just, dude, it's hilarious. Like, and you know, he's from DDT Pro Wrestling, so is Kenny. Yeah. That's kind of who we like. You know, that's kind of what we got a little bit, and they're pretty comedy oriented. You get a lot of comments saying, "Oh, a serious promotion would never do something like this," but then, you know, go look at Toru Yano in New Japan. His whole he comes out with a spray bottle, and he's all comedy. So I think it can be done right, but I think it can be pretty stupid sometimes. I really do think so, and it's hard for me when I tell a friend about this new thing that I'm into, and I really think that you'd like it, and they turn it on, and then
I didn't see that on TV.
Like the mimosa thing with you know.
Yeah.
I had a friend who was like, "What the fuck is this?" So like, there's a time and a place for it. What do you think?
I think there's definitely time and a place. Like obviously over on WWE side of things, you've got R-Truth. We've got this whole 24/7 championship, which is basically like the hardcore title, but there's no weapons.
I hate that.
Yeah, this is what I mean. So it is very annoying. But I guess some people, they know who's not going to reach the heights, and they kind of fill into this gap. And there's a space for comedy wrestling, in my opinion. Just going back to AEW, obviously we got the likes of Orange Cassidy, which is trying to kind of evolve past just being a comedy wrestler. I think he's achieved that in recent months, but I loved it, especially with the crowd. I wasn't aware of Orange Cassidy before AEW. So, for me, as a new viewer to this new product, this guy's coming out, whole denim suit, hands in his pockets, sunglasses on. It's like, mate, are you going to take your hands out your pockets and have a fight? Like, he's here fighting people with his hands in his pockets. I'm laughing my head off. But I can understand how some people be annoyed. I mean, I remember when Lance Archer as well debuted. I think one of his first matches was against Marco Stunt.
Oh my God.
Again, Marco Stunt, one of my first times knowing about him was through AEW. He's there doing the floss dance in the middle of the ring and all of that kind of stuff. It is what it is. I don't know.
First of all, I don't like him at all.
Okay.
I appreciate him. I understand how hard. I mean, I don't understand because I'm tall, but I get that he probably got bullied as a kid because he's so short, and now look at him. He's on TNT primetime as a pro wrestler. Like, that's pretty cool, and he has really stepped up for the promotion and made some of the monsters look awesome. Yeah. But at the same time, it's like he's coming out like going like this, and he's like doing his little dance. I'm like, oh, bro, come on! Like, you really don't. I don't want to see you like do this stupid. Like, you're not a bad wrestler. Like, why can't you just go out there and be normal? It's mean, but he's not a bad wrestler. I don't know, like the whole like dumb like some of the gimmicks are I don't know.
I think because they're young guys. For now, they can get away with it. Until their spot becomes available, then maybe we might see, them evolving, especially like we recently said, Orange Cassidy has kind of done. Especially around AEW. I mean, I started watching this in New Japan days, but Being the Elite, I think it's just a brilliant show. One thing I do not have a problem with, but one thing that kind of concerns me is sometimes obviously stuff happen on Being the Elite that then culminates on TV, and if you're not watching Being the Elite, then you're kind of left out of the loop. How do you think they should use that more and make it more obvious that guys, watch Being the Elite as well, like to kind of try and tie things together?
I completely agree with you. I'm so happy that you mentioned this, because people sometimes they say AEW has one show. Okay, they have one televised show, but they have Dark on Tuesdays on YouTube, which there is a lot of story building, especially recently. Like, I know during the pandemic, it was just mostly wrestling, but there's story build on that. Then on Mondays, there's Being the Elite, and there is stuff that's mentioned there that is brought on Dynamite with no reference. And I'll give you an example. The lawnmower segment with Hangman
Dark
Page.
Order and all of them.
He comes out with Uno, and they bury the Elite, and they have lawnmowers on the entrance stage. And I bet if some people didn't watch it, they'd be like, "What the hell is that?" Like, I had people asking me or saying, we're discussing it, and they're saying, "What the hell was the lawnmower thing about?" And I was like, "Oh, did you watch Being the Elite this week?" They're like, "No." They asked me, "What is Being the Elite?" I said, "Okay, forget it then." So you know how they do the thing on the bottom of the screen on Dynamite says dark results? I tried to put them on my story because I know that not everyone watches that. I want there to be something where I don't know, maybe they forego a picture-in-picture and maybe put or something where they reference it during like a downtime. They reference like the big thing that happened on Being the Elite. Last week, Hangman Page tried to apologize to the Young Bucks. But you wouldn't really know about that, and I think that's important. So they got to figure out something to reference that. If that's going to be part of it. It 100%. Is. It's like it's on another show, basically.
You're right. And like I said, I basically had to start watching. Like I said, I kind of fell off at the beginning of AEW. I fell off watching Being the Elite. Got back into it in the last couple of months, but like I say, through necessity, because things were happening on TV, and I was thinking, but how did that come about? And then when I watched Being the Elite, I understood. So yeah, that is definitely something they need to kind of tie in a bit more, I'd say.
Another example is Brody and
John
John
Silver.
Silver.
the,
He punched him in the face. You wouldn't know why, but he pisses him off on every episode.
those two are John Silver is an absolute star, honestly.
Yeah,
Like,
I know. He's
the guy
great.
is
Oh my God.
hilarious. Like,
He's funny.
I never, like I said, without being the elite, I would have never known he had this side to him, because you just see him on TV, come out all serious, hand in the air, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, like, the guy is a complete clown. Like,
Who would have
he's
thought
really
Luke
good.
Harper's funny too?
In it. Yeah,
The
yeah.
Wyatt family. Like, he is hilarious.
So much personality. It's crazy. But yeah,
Then you
being
have
the elite.
you have other things too. You have Unrestricted on Thursdays, and then you have Sammy's blog, which, you know, not that many big things happen, but there are a lot of things mentioned on Unrestricted and Talk is Jericho, which are kind of subsidiaries of this big AEW tree.
The whole
which
picture, yeah.
There are stuff that is mentioned, and I suggest, like, if people out there watching this haven't really dug deep into that, go watch like the Brody Talk is Jericho one, because that is very insightful on his character development.
Yeah, I've seen that one. It's crazy. Talking about Brody, Luke Harper, for those that know him as that. Obviously, a lot of the time we see the massive conversation online of the reliance of WWE stars, putting these WWE stars in prominent positions on AEW. Obviously, Miro, formerly known as Rusev, has recently debuted. And I was calling from this from the minute that he got fired. I said, this is a guy for AEW. What is your opinion on these guys kind of getting, you know, Moxley's held a title now, Luke Harper or Brody Lee. These guys are kind of getting pushed right to the kind of top of the card, so to speak. What's your opinion on it as like an AEW thoroughbred through and through?
You know, I would like to see some of the other guys get a push just as much as these guys have, because I think that they underestimate how much star power some of their signees have that we're never part of the WWE, man. Go look at All In selling out in Chicago in the first like minute or two. These guys have pull. The Bullet Club, you know, that was huge. Never touched WWE, so I will say that. But for your question, reliance on WWE guys, I really hate this argument. It really pisses me off because
Really?
First of all, go look at Brody Lee and go look at Luke Harper and tell me that they're like the same character.
No chance.
Tell me that Dean Ambrose is the same character as John Moxley. Like, I don't see it. I feel like these guys, even Miro coming out, like, he doesn't look like Rusev. He doesn't, I don't know, like maybe he took a little bit like the Miro day. I get that. But these guys are coming in the revival FTR. They're coming to AEW and they're completely reinventing themselves into something completely different. So while they did come from WWE, I don't think like we're just like taking Dean Ambrose and placing him in AEW and then it's a guy with a different name. I think Impact Wrestling definitely had that problem in like the early 2000s, the mid 2000s. Yeah. They would just take talent and then it would be the same character. These are different characters, different move sets a lot of the times. They're completely different. I really want to emphasize that. Go look at Luke Harper as like a sidekick of the Wyatt family, and now Brody Lee, the leader of a cult, and he's basically, you know, a world champion. I don't care what anyone says about the TNT belt either. That's not really a mid-card belt, in my opinion, if they're ranking it at the same level as the world championship. I don't know. True. These guys are just so different, and I don't understand why we can't use WWE talent. They don't own them, you know?
No, I mean, you're right. I think one thing I'd ask you to look at, remember, this is the new business, 1 year old as we're doing this this episode. Do you understand the fact, though, that because these guys have name recognition, maybe that's why AEW as a new business are using them in these prominent positions? Same way that you said earlier on how they put the belt on Jericho so that it gets eyes on the product. Can you acknowledge the fact that, okay, these guys are coming from somewhere bigger and that's maybe why they're being used in these places?
Well, yeah, it's bigger. I agree with that. I think that, yeah, the original acquisition and to get the eyes on the person, we could give some credit to WWE for really building these guys. And, I think it's funny when they do take stabs at the business that they came from, but like,
that was my next point.
They did build into, they did help build these stars. So I don't really like the whole like trashing Vince McMahon, trashing the WWE, because that's not really nice and that's not really true. But I think that the name recognition, that comes from WWE, but I think that it's unfair for some people to say that it's all just ex-WWE guys, because look at how hard these guys are working to create their own characters and their own storylines and be good wrestlers in the ring. Like, we've got to give some credit to them, and I think that they're doing it on their own. The other thing that I wanted to mention is that, I would have been fine with them not signing a lot of these guys, because I think that they have a big pool of talented people that never touched the WWE that could have been put into these top spots, and I would have been fine with. And further, I think there's a large free agent pool that never touched the WWE, and I think that the overseas talent, some of the guys like Laredo Kid from AAA, and 95% of the New Japan roster, like, I think that they should really be working on getting some of those guys instead. I think there could be just as big of a draw.
Yeah, I think they obviously, going forward, I don't think this will be the case. And it's funny, like, even these guys that have come over, Moxley, Brody Lee and stuff, I don't even think they want to be known as WWE guys. They probably don't. They want to be known as now John Moxley, as Brody Lee. Like, so yeah, I mean, I get it, because it is business, like we said. Same way they put Chris Jericho on top from the get-go. That's what they're doing. They're still trying to grow their business, and they're probably buying time through doing that. These guys that aren't used to TV, that aren't used to performing every week, they're building those guys up in the meantime, so that obviously for the long-term future of the business, those guys can carry AEW.
Yes, exactly. I definitely agree with that. But I will give you this, and I think it's fair. People that are drawn to AEW through Jericho, like, that wasn't really done. Like, he was in New Japan in the 90s. He was in various Mexican promotions in WCW, but most people know him from WWE. So we have to give some credit to them, because he never changed his character, really. Like, he's like the Painmaker, but it's
small changes. It's very small changes. He turns it up here, he brings it back down a bit, he changes this, he changes that. Jericho's a god. Like, he's just really good. I started watching AEW because I was watching New Japan because of all the guys that were there, the Omegas, the Bucks, and all of that kind of stuff, those guys. And then obviously once they left, I was like, well, I'm going where they're going, sort of thing.
Yeah, where they go.
I dip in and out of New Japan still now, but if I had more time, I'd be watching New Japan all the time. But for me, I was invested in those particular guys, so that's why I kind of followed them on this AEW journey. For the shade sorry, go on.
Well, the last thing I'll say to that, this whole segment that we went on, you did mention that there's some other programming that's important to watch to kind of fully understand the picture. I think that another thing that AEW hasn't been doing, which it should, or just figure something out, because it's important. I think there is some legitimate story building that was happening in New Japan before the pandemic hit, and it was like barely ever mentioned. Like, we have a completely different character of John Moxley. He's Death Rider John Moxley in New Japan. We have Painmaker Chris Jericho, who's battling with Tanahashi. And that was the only time, I think, that New Japan was mentioned, vice versa. I think that, there needs to be some kind of arrangement worked out. I'm not going to say a full partnership, but I think that it's important to watch these guys who are going to be transitional talents. And recently, Matt Cardona and Miro both said that they wanted to work there. So if we're going to have guys cross promotions, and Pentagon and Rey Fenix with AAA in Mexico, encourage people to watch that product too. Yeah.
I think definitely we all want to see New Japan and AEW form some type of partnership.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean, I was saying this the other day to someone that New Japan seem to be the one that are annoyed obviously with
Yep.
AEW, with all the stars leaving and stuff like that, hopefully they can kind of all put it behind them one day and we see that kind of partnership, because I think that would definitely be, for me, one of the things that I will say to WWE, look, we're not messing around. Like, we have come to challenge
Oh my
you, sort of
God,
thing.
dude.
That would be
There would be
absolutely
no
massive.
argument. Yeah,
Yeah.
it'd be. You know, I hate how that happened and everything, and a lot of people wonder why. I think a lot of it, and not many people really think about it, is in Japanese culture. They're huge on honor and respect, and if you disrespect someone, you disrespect the place that employed you. They don't just forget about that.
Yeah.
There's never been a formal apology. I think that.
But I was saying to someone the other day, New Japan kept giving these guys, their top stars in the Bucks and Omega and stuff, they kept giving them 1-year contracts, which is probably what they negotiated, fine. But didn't you think that maybe one day these guys are going to walk out because they only have a 1-year contract? They're not bound
and
to
they're
us.
Westerners. They're not Japanese.
Exactly. They're not from here.
No, that's pretty. I think there's fault on both party
100%.
lines, in my opinion. And I think an apology, send Omega over there and have him lose to someone. Have Evil or Naito really go over against Omega or something. Then cut the bullshit and come back here and have
and get
G1 Supercard in Madison
yeah.
Square Garden with New Japan and AEW. That would sell the whole place out, and I think that would shut a lot of people up.
Yeah, 100%. They need to do something like that and just kind of bury the hatchet and move on.
Mm-hmm.
This is our last topic for today, before we get onto a bit of a ratings segment. And I left it last because, in my opinion, AEW have left this last. The women's division.
Oh, boy.
I'm not going to say anything else apart from that. The women's division. Go.
Yeah. Man, I get what everybody's saying. I really do, about how it could be stronger. And, I was trying to defend the company a lot and say, like, they're trying, look at all these good matches and all these good performers. And then they had that thing a couple weeks ago where, like, Shida wasn't even mentioned, led up to, like, the pay-per-view or something. I think it was like 2 weeks ago, and people were flipping out on Twitter. And then they had the Deadly Draw tournament, which was awesome. And they had their own dedicated set, color scheme, entrances, trophy, a different announce team. It was awesome. But then we had the finals on Dynamite, which, like, I don't know why we didn't wait till All Out to do that.
I think that, maybe the whole thing should have been on Dynamite and then the final on All Out.
Yeah, I don't know. I think people underestimate that. I think we'd like to see these people. Yeah, I don't think enough emphasis has been given to them. And we do have some great stars. We recently got Tay Conti, Anna Jay of the Dark Order, Nyla, Shida, Penelope Ford, Britt Baker. Like, it could be done. Let's just put some more emphasis. Stop having, like, cinematic matches. Let them really show what they could do. Let them really show what they could do in the ring, and stop making it an afterthought, in my opinion. I mean, this isn't like New Japan where they don't even have a women's division. Like, American wrestling's different, and people want to see that.
Yeah. I think one thing for me that I think could help fix it, and this is by no means passing blame on him, I think it's been said that Kenny Omega is the one that's kind of running the division. I think take it off him. Give it to someone. Yeah, give it to someone that knows what they're doing in that respect. This isn't new to them. And I think as well, Kenny Omega has so much on his plate, because let's not kid ourselves. Yes, he's been tag team champion, but Kenny Omega is one of, if not the biggest star in the company. So Kenny Omega, especially now he's not tag team champion anymore, he's on a upwards trajectory to getting that championship. I don't think he should be juggling this. And especially, like we say, this is a new company. Let them bring in somebody that knows how to do this kind of stuff. Establish that division. And maybe Kenny can work under that person, learn the ropes, and when he's ready, take it over again, sort of thing. But they really need to do something in regards to the women's division going into their second year.
Yeah, I feel like I agree with that. And I feel like he has had... he's tried to make Japanese women's wrestling work in the States. He's really done this whole, like, DDT stardom thing, and like with Rio, which didn't really stick as the champion. Bring in Veda Scott, who was the announcer for the Deadly Draw, Medusa, and like
Yeah.
Vicky and let them run the women's division. I thought
Yeah.
that the Deadly Draw was such a great first step to really
Mm-hmm.
putting this on the map. We got like Ivelisse and Diamante. I hope they're signed now.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Um,
think they are.
he can't. Yeah, I don't know if it's fully up to him, but it's different in American television, and he is a Japanese citizen, so maybe he just doesn't get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
So, I mean, they are all learning. This whole process has been them learning on TV in the past year. So I can't even fault them. They've done a brilliant job, which takes us very, very well into another segue, which is going to now be our star ratings. So I'll give you a bit of time to think about it. I know what I'm going to give AEW as a star rating out of 5 for their first year. 3.75 stars. So that's 3 stars, 3/4. I think they've done a brilliant job. Doing TV is not easy. And yes, some of the people in their roster, in their ranks backstage might have had experience on that. But this is a brand new company that has, beaten an established product like WWE NXT for several weeks. Yes, that NXT might, for some people, might be being seen as developmental. We shouldn't be comparing the two, but they can only beat, what's on at the same time as them. And if that's going to be NXT, then, they are doing a good job. They've went from nothing to the second biggest promotion in the world, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
This is no small feat which they've done. They've done a really good job in their first year. I would say the reason they didn't get obviously the full 5 stars, if we're to talk about why I discounted them a bit, the main event scene I think has been a bit weak. It hasn't been really defined. I think Moxley, especially as champion, hasn't really faced anyone that I thought at any point he was going to lose to. They need to define that a bit better and build up guys. They brought in Brian Cage and shot him straight to John Moxley, and he was never gonna win. I don't think the match should have ended how it did necessarily, but yeah. And then the women's division, like we were just saying, it hasn't been handled well at all, despite them having some really good talents in there.
Yeah.
So with an improvement on the main event scene and the women's division, I think they can have a really good 4-star plus next year. But for me, three stars and 3/4. What about yourself, Mike?
That's a good rating. I think it's fair. I would have given it, to be honest, I would have been very, very close to like the 5 ratings, just because as a fan of how drawn in I got, how this became like such a big part of my life, really. Like these guys became my heroes, basically. Like as a fan, like that would have been close to a 5 for me. Then the pandemic hit, and they were on such a roll before, and I think we had to factor in that. I think that 100%. They have accomplished a large feat. To me, I think I'd probably give it a 4.5 out of 5, just because it's just really brought me back into wrestling like no other thing has. There are some faults, like you stated, but all in all, like I look forward to Wednesday night so much. I can't wait to see what happens. There are mistakes that are being made, but I really am proud of what they have done, and definitely. I think that it's going to be a really successful promotion. I can't wait to see what they continue to do. What would you rank as your top match in the last year?
What a question. I think one of the most memorable matches is the match we discussed earlier on, Bucks, Kenny Omega, Adam Page. Moxley Omega as well was a brilliant match. I really, really enjoyed that. I'm trying to think of Goldust. Look at me. Dustin and Cody, their match was really good. It's hard to pick a bad match. I mean, there's so many that have been of real high quality. We're still even to get Bucks versus FTR. That's gonna be a brilliant match.
That's gonna be crazy, right?
So yeah. What about yourself?
I still think it's got to be the Bucks versus Hangman and Omega at Revolution. I mean, I know it's a tag match, so you know that there's a lot of work that's being done on all parties, so you can't really credit it to one. But I can't really think of another match that had me. I was so drawn in. I was insane. I think that was the top pay per view that they did, and you know, a lot of people say it's Double or Nothing 2009 or All Out last year, Full Gear, but Revolution for me, I mean, that's when I really said like, wow, they got something special here. I thought that the Moxley versus Jericho match from Revolution was really solid too, and but man, that tag match was
something else.
I don't know how that could be topped.
yeah, that was something else. But yeah, I mean, that is it. That is our episode. I mean, more than anything, I'm just happy that AEW's basically been able to be another home for wrestlers. You don't have to just work for this one company. If you want to make super money, you can work for, you know, there's other places available now, putting on a different product. It's going to make the whole scene better because no one can just sit complacent anymore and just think they're not going to be challenged. So, yeah, like I said, long may it continue. I've loved the first year really and truly. I'm critical on certain things, but it's only because I want it to get better.
Yeah, we're really nitpicking, you know, everybody that's watching. On some stuff. But I think that if you don't watch it or if you're on the fence, just come in and just see an episode and see if you like it. It might be for you.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to be biased. I'm obviously I watch WWE more. There's more to watch than AEW. And AEW for sure is going to have, you know, hopefully Dark gets some kind of more prominence and is on TV soon. And maybe they'll go into having more shows or something like that. I don't know what their plans are. But for me, if it's not NXT, WWE NXT, it's AEW, and if it's not AEW, it's NXT. If you're trying to get into wrestling, those are the two shows, definitely from America anyway, that you want to watch. Otherwise, of course, New Japan kills it every time. But yeah,
they signed on actually, so it'll start in 2021, hopefully when the pandemic ends. So, but I don't know.
Dark to be on TV.
It doesn't. I don't know. So they're gonna keep. Apparently, they're gonna keep their YouTube show. Yeah. And they're going to have a second show on TNT. I don't know how long or what day, but they're going to have a secondary show. And Tony Khan said that it's going to be something completely original that is unlike any other production. So it's not going to be their secondary show. That's their main goal. So we're going to get some more AW programming, I hope.
Keeping us busy then.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Mike, it's been brilliant to have you on the show on WrestleManiac UK. Guys, just like you can see above his head there, AEW News 1_. Go and follow this guy on Instagram. He is the AEW plug, like I said. Anything AEW, New Japan, you want to follow, get into, this is your man. So, yeah. Mike, any last words?
Thank you. This was really fun to come on, and you know, I never get tired of talking wrestling, especially with you. Yeah, thank you so much, guys. If you want any more content or coverage, I think I don't really know who else is doing it. I hope I can continue doing this and not get in trouble for it. But for pretty much every show and pay-per-view, I'm really fast with the cell phone. So I got the cell phone up and I'm pointing up. Then I come down, tag everyone, put it on the story. So you'll get play-by-play coverage on in real time.
He's basically live streaming the entire show, guys.
Yeah, so, and remembering it and then writing it down and doing a post show. But follow WrestleManiac UK because I feel like you're the most knowledgeable guy across the pond for sure. I love using that term about everything. And I feel like you are truly non-biased, unlike me. And you definitely equally cover both. And I think you do a great job with it.
Thank you, man. I love it all. I love it all. Honestly, when AEW came out, I was more than happy to get involved in another product. So yeah, guys, I appreciate you all tuning in and I'll speak to you next time. One more time, I'd like to thank Mike from AEW News 1_ on Instagram. Great episode there. I hope you all enjoyed it. Just a tremendous year for AEW, like we were saying, you know. As you can tell, Mike is really stoked about AEW for them now and in the future, as well as myself. I'm really happy with what they've done and how they kind of offer our industry that we love so much just another opportunity for wrestlers, another alternative for us to enjoy. So much more wrestling on the way, and I really hope their business continues to prosper. Guys, if you enjoyed this review, please leave us a thumbs up, like the video, and if you're new here, welcome. Please consider subscribing and hit the notification bell so you get notified every time I drop a new video. WrestleManiac UK signing out, and I'll see you soon.